people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Errol Spence Jr. understands skeptics, thinking that he's a shell of his former self. Spence, 36 now, would feel the same way about another aging fighter if he were coming off a devastating loss and a 3-year layoff. All of those predictable doubts about whether Spence remains a champion-caliber fighter have only motivated the former IBF, WBA, and WBC welterweight champion more as he prepares to face former WBO title holder Tim Tszyu on July 26th at a venue to be announced in Tszyu's home country of Australia. I'm glad to be back, Spence said during a press conference Saturday at the MGM Grand. It's been a long time, a 3-year layoff, and I'm sure everybody has their reserved opinions, thinking that I'm a shell of my former self, or, does he still have it? And it's just because I would be thinking the same thing seeing my last fight, but I guarantee you, come July 26th, you will see a better, more improved Errol Spence.
Where exactly has he been making these improvements? In the shadows? Because he hasn't been making them under the hot lights.
Spence, a southpaw from DeSoto, Texas, and Tszyu, will compete at a contracted catchweight of 158 pounds in a 12-round main event Amazon Prime Video will distribute on pay-per-view the night of July 25th in the United States. No Limit Promotions' Matt Rose, who represents Tszyu, stated during the press conference that the venue for their high-stakes middleweight match will be announced within 3 weeks. Several Australian outlets have reported Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney, Tszyu's hometown, as the likely site.
If you needed any indicator who's really selling this thing, who's the draw, it's Tim. That's why Errol's coming to him, to Australia, to Tim's hometown in Australia.
And it's Tim's promoter at the helm of the promotion. Make no mistake, this is not a PBC show. The ones putting it together are No Limit. Spence will fight for the first time since Terence Crawford dominated him in July of 2023 at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Crawford dropped Spence 3 times and stopped him in the 9th round of their long-awaited welterweight title unification fight. The 2012 U.S. Olympian hasn't won since he defeated Yordenis Ugas by way of 10th round TKO in April of 2022 at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas.
So the guy hasn't won a fight in about 4 years.
Overcoming the Crawford defeat is the latest on a lengthy list of obstacles Spence encountered since he defeated Sean Porter by split decision to become unified welterweight champion in September of 2019. Suffered various injuries in a car accident in October of that same year and later had surgery to repair a detached retina in his eye, which caused the cancellation of his fight against Manny Pacquiao in August of 2021. Tszyu, 31, will try to reestablish himself as a top fighter in the junior middleweight division as well. The son of the Hall of Famer and former junior welterweight champion Kostya Tszyu is 3 for 3 in his last 6. Former IBF junior middleweight champion Bakram Murtazaliev dropped Tszyu 4 times and upset him by 3rd round TKO in October of 2024. That destructive defeat occurred between a pair of losses to the WBC super welterweight champion Sebastian Fundora,
who edged Tszyu by split decision in a bloody battle in March of 2024 and forced Tszyu to quit on his stool after the 7th round of their rematch last July 19th at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Now Tszyu's won back-to-back 10-round UDs over Anthony Velasquez and Dennis Nerja since the second Fundora fight. Spence took exception to Tszyu attempting to shake his hand and hug him before their press conference began because of negative things Tszyu said about him on social media prior to their fight being officially announced on Thursday. I was only going to give him a shake and a hug because this is his last fight, Tszyu said. So just trying to make it nice and friendly, So it is what it is. And it might be. It might very well be the last time we see Errol Spence Jr. in a boxing ring, not just because of what Timmy said, but because according to Errol, he's already got one foot halfway out the door.
Mulling over retirement ahead of the Tim Tszyu fight, saying, "I already got my right foot hanging out the door." Spence said, when asked if he would retire if he lost to Tim Tszyu, "You never know." Fighting Tszyu on away soil, he feels, will bring the best out of him. But is that the real reason he's doing that?
No, that's just window dressing.
What do you expect Errol to say? That the only reason I'm going to Australia to fight this guy is because that's the only place we can sell this fight. Too many of my own people saw me get my ass kicked, and saw him get his ass kicked. So we gotta do it in Australia.
He's not going to admit that.
But Spence did admit that he wasn't sure what his life would look like without the sport he grew up loving. Having experienced a small glimpse of what life is like without it, he isn't scared to hang up his gloves when the time comes. "I enjoyed the 3-year layoff," Spence said. "It gave me a lot of clarity, and it let me know that I'm okay. With or without boxing, I'll be okay. It's a scary moment when you're used to being in the gym 24/7 all the time, and you're not in the gym. There was a time where, when I ran into a boxing gym, my day was over. I wasn't worried about nothing else. That was my only focus. That was it. But it gave me a lot more clarity when I started focusing on my kids and my family as a whole and traveling and just enjoying life."
Enjoying life is what caused that car accident. Enjoying it a little bit too much. I don't think that Spence all of a sudden fell out of love with boxing and started focusing on other things. I think that started a long time ago.
Spence, 36, heads into the fight with new trainer Ronnie Shields in his corner, which is boxing's equivalent of a spare tire. Despite Spence's admission that he's thinking about the end of his career, Shields, who has worked with the likes of Pernell Whitaker, Vernon Forrest, and Evander Holyfield, likes what he sees in training camp.
Well, of course he's going to say that. What do you expect him to say? That the guy looks shot and shop-worn? He's got a fight to sell.
"I think the layoff did him great," Shields said. "The first day he came in the gym, I pushed him really hard. I just wanted to see what he had left, and he had more than I thought he had. He did everything better than I thought he could do. So, I know we've got a fresh fighter here, and you guys are going to see it in Australia."
So he says. And he might actually be telling the truth, but you can't necessarily take it from him because he's the one training a guy. You tell me that having heard all of that and taken it all in, that you're confident that Errol can go down there and get back to his old form, get back to his winning ways, at a new weight.
While he's also telling you that he's got 1 foot halfway out the door. That's never an encouraging omen ahead of a fight.
It was a shame that Canelo wasn't able to watch that fight there because, he got a little bit scared, and I think I might have scared him away. But, just to show everybody, man, I'm a bad dude, man. I'm a bad MFer.
He left before your fight? Canelo did?
Yeah, he left before. I think he seen Munguia's fight, and then he just took off. But
what's his beef with you? What, I know that you wanted it, but, why? You're there, you're the main event. Why not stick around and watch the fight?
I don't know, man. I think it's just... I think there's like a civil war between Mexicans and Mexican Americans. Where I'm, everybody says I'm not Mexican. There's some people from Mexico that they say I'm not Mexican enough, this and that. So I there's just like a rivalry between us. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't even be like that. At the end of the day, we could just give the fans what they want to see, give them a great fight, and then we could both go home to our families. And that's really as easy as it can be. But I think, a lot of people, they're not, other people, they're not as confident in themselves as I am confident in myself. So when you're confident about anything, you can make anything happen. So I'm just, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, the fans won. The fans had a great event. The whole event from top to bottom was a stacked card. There were some great fights. And I'm just happy that, exactly what I said is what happened. I said that this was going to be a legendary fight card from top to bottom, and everybody had a great time. Everybody got their money's worth. Everybody was super happy, and that's what really, at the end of the day, what matters, because the fans will matter the most.
I know you mentioned him in the ring after the fight, but you don't really think that there's any chance this happens at this point, right?
No, I'm just talking right now. You know what I mean? I think I've deserved that. I've earned that. If I don't get that fight, at least I could talk about it like I'm the bad man. You know what I mean? So. I don't think that fight's ever going to happen, to be honest with you. But
I don't think it would be smart. Honestly, you're going in two completely different directions at this point. I don't think it would be smart for him.
Yeah. No, but look, at the end of the day, bro, we're just happy. We're happy with everything that we've had in our career up to this point, and now I'm just gonna take over. Then just plain and simple. And I'm not gonna take over by just taking over the date. I'm getting the toughest and hardest fight.
So he once again acknowledges that he doesn't expect a Canelo Alvarez fight to happen, but he mentions him everywhere that he goes. You know, I told you that Canelo wasn't going to stick around for the main event because he doesn't normally attend David Benavidez' fights, and the only reason he was there was to support Jaime Munguia, his Eddie Reynoso stablemate. You think he's going to stick around long enough for you to start clout chasing him? He's a super middleweight.
You're a cruiser. How are we still talking about this?
Ariel Helwani's a really good interviewer. He has a way of getting things out of a fighter that I think most people don't pick up on, because Ariel Helwani himself probably thinks it's ridiculous for David to still be talking about this guy, talking about this fight.
You sort of sense that from Errol without him coming off as combative.
Or standoffish, which would then in turn render the fighter defensive.
But you know, he asked him, you don't seriously expect that fight to happen, but you did mention him.
And he's going to keep mentioning him because he's still the money. If he weren't, we'd have nothing to talk about, and David wouldn't bring him up.
They keep saying that David has usurped Cinco de Mayo from him, that he's now the face of boxing. The numbers don't tell that story, and he wouldn't keep bringing him up if he had.
If David has unseated him in any way as the face of boxing, why mention him? Now, he's saying that he scared Canelo Alvarez away, and that's why he didn't stay for the main event. By that reckoning, did Artur and Dimitri scare you away? Because you didn't stay for their main event. You didn't stay for their fight. Remember when you left Saudi early?
If you were to guess, it sounds to me like you're leaning towards going back to light heavyweight. Is that accurate? That's what you want to do next?
Yeah, 100%. We're going after Dimitri Bivol.
Okay, that's it.
I told you guys that's what I got. That's what I wanted to do, and just so the fans they have something to look up to. That's look forward to. That's why I give you guys my breakdowns, what I'm trying to do, what are my plans. And I told you guys I was going to come back down and fight Bivol, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
I love that. Do you think that it could happen? Is the dream for it to happen in September, Mexican Independence Day weekend? Is that what you want?
Not right now. I think it's. I don't know what's going to happen because we're still in talks.
Yeah,
with
he's fighting.
Early talks.
Right.
Yeah, he's fighting. And, at the end of the month, he still has, 21 more days until he fights. So, I don't know how long he's going to have to stay out or if he has an injury or any of that. So, but the thing is that we're already talking. We're in talks. So, if it happens in September, great. If it doesn't, it'll definitely happen by this year.
So he says, but it sounds like even he doesn't expect it to happen.
Because Dimitri's got a fight coming up, because he may incur an injury. Remember that he is coming off of back surgery.
When Ariel Helwani asks him if he expects the fight to happen as soon as September,
does he want it to happen as soon as September? In a roundabout way, he said no, and it's very obvious why. Because there's no way a guy who just fought at cruiser is going to boil all the way back down to light heavy safely by September?
No, he's still telling people that he can do it, that he can get back down there.
And he's gonna do that. But I'm telling you, you may have already seen the last of David Benavidez as a light heavyweight.
The women's game is different from the men's. They can fluctuate in weight a lot more than the guys do. Do you see a lot of guys going up and down?
No.
But we're supposed to expect that this guy's going to. While he's walking around between fights 2 and change.
And what, 6 months? 7 months? 8? Because that's gonna make it easier to make?
Where's your common sense?
Thinking, right? How could we make a fight even bigger? I was thinking of maybe we do a catchweight at 190. We get the cruiserweight belts involved, the light heavyweight belts involved, and winner take all. Dimitri said he wanted to fight for the cruiserweight championships before his career was over. So maybe this is we can make a even bigger fight like that.
Can you still get to 75 though, if that's what he wants, to just defend his light heavyweight titles?
Yeah, I can still get to 175. The thing about is that if I do end up fighting him, it's probably not going to be until the end of the year, or it won't be in September. But if I get to work now, I could get down to that weight, and that's exactly what I'm planning. Yeah, planning to do. I'm planning already to get to work, because I know what's next after this. So I know I have to be 100% ready. Just like I tell you guys, I trained 5 months. So if I'm going against Dimitri Bivol, I'm getting to work probably next week. I brought my family to vacation this week, but next week we're going to work.
And there you have it. Because in the build-up of this weekend's fight, you would have heard me say that after David beats Zerto Ramirez, what he's gonna do is call Dimitri to meet him up at cruiser, because he himself can't really get down to light heavy. He's gonna provide those assurances. He's gonna keep saying that in the interim.
But he's not gonna do it.
Guy who just fought at about 200, walks around heavier than that, is then gonna cut about 50 pounds and weaken himself to fight Dimitri Bivol.
Where is your common sense?
You want to fight him at a catch weight of 190 pounds? That's cruiser. Anything above 175 is cruiser. An ounce above 175 is cruiser. 190, that's just 10 pounds short of the limit.
That's cruiser.
But, he told Sean that, if he wants it at 175, we'll do it at 175.
Then why are you talking about 190?
He says it's to make the fight bigger. Bigger in terms of what? Your midsection?
This shit ain't gonna happen.
He's welcome to prove me wrong. If you can get back down to 175, do it. Because if you do, I've got Dimitri. You're gonna be so spent, so severely weight drained, beating you.
It's gonna be like when he beat Zerto Ramirez.
I don't like to waste time evaluating fights that I don't expect to happen, but I see far too many people reading too much into his win over Zerto Ramirez, who fights nothing like Dimitri.
Zerto was trying to impose his size on David Benavidez, barreling forward and leaving himself open to be countered, to be caught with all those shoe shines, those combinations, where that ain't what Dimitri does. He fights on the balls of his feet. He cuts angles. He changes levels.
I don't expect any of David Benavidez's fans to even know what that means or what I'm talking about when I say Dimitri's got a pendulum step. He's not just gonna rush David Benavidez.
He doesn't have to. He's got a better understanding of range and distance control than Zerto Ramirez ever did. That's why he beat him.
And that's why he beat David Benavidez, though alas, I don't expect this fight to happen. I never did.
He's not coming down to light heavyweight. What he's banking on is for Dimitri Bivol to book the third Artur Beterbiev fight, and then he'll say, well, that's the reason we're not fighting.
That'll be his excuse, when he was never gonna come down anyway.
What do you think he's talking about 190 pounds now?
So, if he's not fighting Dimitri Bivol or Jayo Pataya anytime in the near future, and it doesn't look like he's going to, what is he going to do? Who is he going to fight? In September or later on in the year?
Well, is he going to fight later on in the year?
He might not, and you may not realize this, but David has a pattern to where he'll fight once, then take the rest of the year off, so that in the following year, he'll fight twice.
He did this in 2022 when he fought David Lemieux in May of that year. That was the only fight that he had that year. The following year, he fought 2 times.
Then, he did it again in 2024 when he fought Alexander Vozdik in June of that year, and that was the only fight that he had that year, so that the following year, he would fight 2 times. Based on that established pattern, this would be one of the years where he only fights once.
Fights once every other year, once in 2022, once in 2024, and perhaps once in 2026.
I mean, ask yourself a question. If it's not going to be Bivol and it's not going to be Jai, who is it going to be? Because he wants to fight on pay-per-view exclusively, and you can't fight just anybody on pay-per-view.
Ask yourself a question. Do you really believe this guy can get down to 175? Do you? Because if you do, I got this bridge I want to sell you.
I'd love to be wrong about this. I'd love for him to go down to 175 and fight Bivol, because if he does, I've got Bivol, and the hype train ends.
Unfortunately, I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect him to drop down. I don't know that he's ever going to fight Bivol.